question from one of the most faithful men out there, Jamal Armstrong, always in here.
Grant met.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, Jamal, thank you for the donation, as always. And Jamal says, good to see you guys. Wanted to ask about cornerback depth and your thoughts on us looking to sign or trade for another starting caliber cornerback. Grant, what are your initial thoughts on the cornerback depth from what you've seen? And do you think it is maybe or should be in the minds of the front office to kind of look for a guy to add to the position group?
Yeah, they don't have any cornerback depth. None. They have Jason Verrett, K'Wan Williams, Emmanuel Mosley. That's a good trio. After that, they have a couple of rookies who were picked after the 100th pick. They're just like projects that you hope maybe one of them works out. And they have guys named Ken Webster and B.W. Webb, stuff like that. So Dante Johnson still on the team. They're like real close to being in a Brian Allen situation, which I don't know. If you don't know who Brian Allen is, consider yourself lucky as a football fan. Niner fans know who Brian Allen is. You mentioned Brian Allen, they'll start screaming like it's PTSD. So the Niners are real close to
knows who that is.
Yeah. They don't have any depth there. It's terrible.
What about the second part of this question? The signing and trading for a starting caliber.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the move you make right after you trade Jimmy Garoppolo. So yes, but hard to do it now. Although they do have 12, like they do have some cap space. And they went and signed B.W. Webb, so they tried. I just don't think that's good enough. B.W. Webb.
I thought, so first I thought there was a guy hanging out for a little bit who's played in a similar scheme, not the same exact scheme because the Niners scheme evolved from it last year. He had a really rough year last year, but I thought Casey Hayward, the contract that he got from the Raiders, the Niners had enough cap room, in my opinion, to kind of make that work. I thought that might have been a move as a veteran Band-Aid because worst case scenario, he's your first backup at corner, but they didn't get him. I'm very worried about the cornerback depth. I'm very worried. I know a lot of people are high on the idea of Ambry Thomas starting day one, but I'm not bullish on the idea of a cornerback taken past the first 100 picks starting day one and being a solid starter. I mean, most corners in the NFL that are solid starters are drafted within the first 50 picks. I mean, everybody was talking about how Tampa Bay didn't have great investment in their secondary, but all their corners are second-round picks. I think Carlton Davis was drafted pretty high. Murphy Bunting was drafted pretty high. Jamal Dean was drafted pretty high. So that's three second-round corners, third-round corners. So all within the top 100 too. I mean, you look at Blake's Packers, they go down the list. Jair Alexander was a top 20 pick. Kevin King was a top 30 pick. If you want to have good cornerbacks in the NFL, you have to draft them within the top 50 picks in the draft because you need the most elite of elite athletes to play that position. And I think the impact of cornerback play was seen last year with the way Ahkello Witherspoon finished the season and the way Jason Verrett played the last 10 games or so of the season. We saw how much different the Niners defense could be even if the pass rush isn't working because you have a cornerback who can actually lock up most receivers in man coverage. So I do think it's a worry. I don't think getting a starting caliber corner means going and trading the house for Xavier Howard and paying him $20+ million. I think it's risky to have 7 players that are the highest paid players at their position. That sounds very early, mid 2010 Dallas Cowboys to me, where you have Dak Prescott on a rookie deal and you have Travis Frederick, highest paid center, highest paid guard, Zach Martin, highest paid left tackle, Tyron Smith. Sean Lee was the 1 or 2 highest paid linebacker. Tank Lawrence was really highly paid. That's scary to me. I do think there will be other starting type players available, but this is definitely something that needs to be addressed because this is scary. It's scary to have only, I would say even Emmanuel Mosley is even having only 2 guys that you're really comfortable starting in a secondary position where both Verrett and Mosley have had injuries in the past is very scary.
Yeah, I'm all aboard on that. And just like, I know Verrett played 14 games this year, but just like bringing up his injury history, like you just cannot deny that it's an issue. Like as great of a talent as he is, like he's definitely a very, very good number 1 cornerback for any team. And he would be a number 1 cornerback on most teams in the league, I'd argue. But his 3 highest games played a season, 14, last year, 13, and then the next is 6. And after that, it's like less than 3 each week or each year. So you just play the numbers game and you say it is probably unlikely he's playing more than 10 games. And him going down, that leaves you with two guys who you're comfortable with, and one of them being K'Wan Williams, who's primarily only a slot guy. Yeah, I do think that's concerning. And I'm kind of with you on the Xavier Howard Vish. I don't think it's smart to trade for him either. Just the money situation. I mean, unless you're playing in a league with a soft cap, like you can't really do that. But here's a guy who I'm interested in what you guys think. So J.C. Jackson from the Patriots. The Patriots only put a second-round tender on him, which was a surprise. And he's only 25 years old. Would you guys think he would maybe be a guy? I know you'd probably have to pay him a lot, but he's a guy who clearly, if the Patriots are only putting a second-round tender on him, they must not value him as highly as other teams do, because a guy of his caliber should, I'd argue, be probably a first-round tender.
Grant, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great addition. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they made it pretty clear when they sign a guy like B.W. Webb that they're shopping in the bargain bin. They're not going to do that. Maybe now, if Jason Verrett gets hurt week 2, they definitely can make a move like that. But I think they'll be reactive, and I don't think they're worried about the depth as much as we are. I mean, D'Amico Ryan should be worried about it. But I don't know if John Lynch can help him out.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the third straight year we've walked into a season questioning their cornerback depth, and this is the worst of the last 3 years, to be honest. Richard Sherman, Akello Witherspoon, Emmanuel Mosley. I'd take that today over what's happening, though. Mosley was a relatively unknown guy who had a very strong training camp in 2019. A lot of people, Grant included, were really hyping him up, saying that he was a lot better than what people were going to expect as both slot and outside. And then 2020 was a similar thing, just because there was question marks with Jason Verrett's lower body, and he was a godsend. He turned back into Jason Verrett somehow, and he was incredible. But the investment in general in the cornerback position has been lacking by the 49ers. So I don't expect that move to be made. Would the move be fantastic? Absolutely. I think one of the misnomers with J.C. Jackson is that he was the best corner on the Patriots last year. No, the best corner on the Patriots was still 100% Stephon Gilmore. People just watched one Sunday night game versus DK Metcalf and decided that Stephon Gilmore was washed, which is not true. And J.C. Jackson did struggle the final couple weeks of the season when Gilmore was hurt and Jackson was the number one corner. The nice thing is he would be the number 2 corner for the 49ers behind Jason Verrett. To me, if there was a way to get him, obviously a second-round pick, given what all the picks the Niners have given up, is a little bit rich, but they need a starting caliber corner because, as much as I like Emmanuel Mosley, I think I'm higher on him as a starting corner than most. This is a guy that the Niners had playing special teams last year, and they chose to play Dante Johnson and Akello Witherspoon as the other 2 corners with Jason Verrett. They did that for the last 3 games of the season. Now, I originally thought it was because he wasn't healthy, but if you go back and look, Emmanuel Mosley is playing special team snaps, so he's clearly healthy. They just chose not to use him as a corner. So overall, the entire depth in the position is troublesome.
Yeah.
Good question, though, Jamal. Much appreciated. Let's get back